Hello, everybody, and welcome back. I wanted to apologize, first of all. I noticed upon editing that the previous video wasn't showing the entire screen. I hope I've dealt with that now on this recording, and I will re-record the first video so that you'll be able to see the entire screen and see what I'm doing. But I think most of the point got across. So we'll leave that for now, and we're going to move on to some more advanced things, like sending contracts and what are the automated processes that run in the background, and then from there, terminating those contracts and looking at those processes that run afterwards. So here we have our Erica Monet account that we created yesterday. Obviously, we have the contacts, the artist and her manager, and we have the opportunities that we created in the previous video as well. I'm going to go through and just kind of show you how to create the contract, and we're going to skip the signing phase, obviously, because I've created a fictional person, so we don't want to send it for signature, but I will mimic what the automated processes are that are going to go on. So with this right now, we are in the contact drafting phase. So everything here is ready to go as far as going out to the client for signature. The step that we're going to go is up here in the right-hand corner. You're going to see this create bulk schedule. And I will go through schedules in a future video. We're still changing some things about the schedules and how they work. We're integrating some tracks and again, the release calendar and how is that going to be involved. So I don't want to address it now and then have to redo it and re-explain and obviously confuse you with a change to a new system. So we'll skip the schedules for now and let's just go straight to generate contract document. So not everyone will be able to do this. Only people who have the specific Conga license inside of the Salesforce license will be able to do that. There will be 15 people total in the company, including me, but each one of your teams will have somebody who will be able to do this. If you take over that responsibility, you will get that license and be able to go through this process as well. So when we click create generate contract document, you'll see that the Conga build-in loads and then gives us the opportunity to run, but we are still inside the environment of Salesforce because you can see right here at the top, we're still on the Salesforce platform. Now, this was a CPA opportunity, and remember, this is a POP client, and it automatically chose the POP channel partnership agreement, so I know that we have the correct template. There is a list of all the other templates here. If you were doing a different version for some reason, which you shouldn't, you absolutely should not, but you can choose a different template here if this is not the correct one. The manager's name, because they were selected as the primary and the contact, will automatically appeal here. If you don't see a name in the related contact, you have missed something on the opportunity, and you should go to return opportunity and go fix that. I have it set for download currently. There is the option to email, but none of those should be working right now. Once we get the templates up to date and ready to go, then this step will actually become kind of non-existent. You'll be able to send it directly out. But we also have the option to save a copy to notes and attachments. We're not going to do that because there is a version that will save somewhere else, and we don't want to interfere with that background process. You can also enable to place a document or a login activity like I sent the contract. Most teams are not doing that, but this can be helpful for reminders. And I can actually set up automated reminders so that 3 days or 7 days after you send the contract, that it will send out a reminder. Or you can do your reminder right here, and it'll send you a reminder to follow up on that day. There are two fields here at the bottom, merge and download and preview. For our purposes, they operate exactly the same. Now, all of the templates you can see are Word documents, and I have it marked here as same as template. The other alternative, and if you want to send one of these to a client, you'll want to make sure to download a PDF, not a doc. This makes sure that the client doesn't change anything on the contract, that we then agree to those changes without knowing. But for our purposes, because we want to edit, we're going to download the document as a doc. So I can hit merge and download or preview. I prefer preview. For what reason, I can't really tell you. That's just the one I use. And you'll see that Conga is running its processes in the background. It has multiple steps. And the document appears here, and probably off screen for you, it actually downloaded into my tray. So I see this document is now available. This will give me the opportunity to open it in Microsoft Word and to review it and make sure that all of the points from the opportunity are correct. Once I've checked over that document and the dates are correct, the percentages are correct, the names are correct, all of those things are correct, I would then be able to come back here, and again in the top right, I'm going to go down to send with conga sign. Now there are some fields that are integrated in with the template itself, but we do have to do some things first. First, I'm going to go in here and into my downloads folder and find Eric O'Manay's agreement. And you can also drag and drop. That probably would have been easier here. But you can drag and drop files into the upload documents, or you can search if it's already been uploaded to Salesforce. It won't just be available in Salesforce. You'll have to find it on your computer. You'll see the available documents over here on the right, and I've only uploaded one. That's the correct one that I just created, and it's the one that's selected with the blue dot. Now I want to add recipients. Now it should automatically look for the people who are associated with this account. So if I just put in Jess, you'll see that the first option is Jessica Welly, the fictional person who I am attached to this account. So I can add Jessica Welly in. I also want to make sure I send it to the artist. And then depending on your teams, there may be a different person who's actually signing the agreement on behalf of the team. That's up to your team policies, but I'm just going to put myself in, and you'll see that it's a little different here because it's actually a different symbol. Here are contacts. They have a purple symbol. Here are leads. That's an orange symbol. And users are this teal symbol. There's a button down here for signing order. We definitely want to select that. Now, in this case, the artist is going to be signing. So I want to make sure she gets it first, but we're going to send a CC to the manager first. So I would just take this role and change it from signer to CC. I can also choose a different language. Conga is available in several languages. And I'll leave the artist there as a signer second, myself as signer third. And that way that the signing order essentially will send a CC out to the manager, and then automatically right after that, send a copy out to the artist for signature. When the artist signs it, then I will get a copy that I can execute as well. This makes sure that we are not signing before the client. So if there's later negotiations, there's not a signed copy floating out there that can be used against us essentially. You'll also notice that I can drag and drop these. So if I've put them in if I've searched for them in a different order, I can drag and drop them into a different order, including having myself first, but obviously that doesn't make sense. So I'll keep the manager on CC first, the artist second, and then myself third. You can even make a email message and a subject that are different than the one that will automatically be put in. You can set an expiration date. Like if you're not going to sign this in the next 3 days, then we have to renegotiate, or this advance offer is only good for 3 days. You can set that transaction expiration and the time for the time and date. The expiration reminder is saying, hey, the transaction is going to expire in 7 days. You send a reminder 3 days before that expiration to say, don't forget, this expires in 3 days from here. The request reminder sends after a certain number of days. So every 3 days, we'll send a request reminder saying, hey, please sign this agreement that's been sent to you. But now that all of this is set, I'm going to hit preview and tag. Now, this is actually not a necessary step. Some people like to review it, but you could send now because everything else has been taken care of for you in the template. You'll see on the bottom right, there was that initial line. Once you review yours, you'll see them on the bottom right. It essentially is a \initial1 \. And although that code remained in the doc template and in the PDF, Conga reads that and puts in the appropriate signature field. So there's an initial field there. There's a signature line, both for us and for the artist. And then we have the actual name and the sign date and the initial field here. And every single page will have the initial field because we want to make sure every page is initialed, although they're not actually loading yet. And one of the things that's going to come into play later is you'll see this field here, which is a checkbox. Now, the artist is not going to see this page or this little checkbox here. This is what we call a write back tag, and that's going to start some certain actions within Salesforce itself. So I'm ready to send this. I'm not actually going to send it because those are emails that I don't know who they're attached to. They may be real, they may not be. So I'll discard this, but at this point you could send it. But you'll notice that because these were filled in automatically and I didn't do anything additionally, I could have just hit send now, and everything would have been taken care of. It would go out by email to my signers. So after discarding that transaction, it brings me back to the opportunity screen. I'm right back at that CPA opportunity. Now, I told you to take note of that checkbox for an important reason. Once the artist signs the agreement and then we sign the agreement, a copy of the completely signed agreement is sent to everybody on that thread. So the manager will get one, the artist will get one, and we'll have one. It'll also be sent to contracts, and we'll also have a copy of that agreement here. Now you'll see if I click on this file, this is the unsigned version. You'll see the initials there, the signature tags here in their previous form. But once it's signed, the signed copy will actually replace this copy in the file. And that way we'll always have a copy there. And most of the teams are also updating Google Drive and dropping a copy of the agreement there as well. This is the draft of that Conga sign that I just created, which we're not going to use, but you can always come back to a draft there. This create music contracts, this is the important one that I want to talk about. So I'm going to go ahead and mock the processes that happen, but essentially what that little write back tag, it sends a message back to Salesforce to say, hey, it was signed. And this field will actually update automatically. But I'm going to go ahead and do that instead so that we can kind of see the processes that run. So I'm going to save it as signed. I'm going to move up here and mark it as closed won. Closed won meaning we have a signed agreement and it will be effective for a while. Now again, that will happen automatically upon signing once that write back tag comes in. But you'll notice that under Create Music Contracts, we now have a new active contract. This has been marked closed won, but all other fields remain the same. And essentially, this now becomes a placeholder for that contract, but we can actually use this Create Music Contracts for some interesting things. This creation actually triggers a lot of processes. But this contract holds all the information that we have, and it'll allow us to do a renewal contract, to modify the contract, to do addendums. Those are all going to be based on this agreement. You'll see the start date here, 8/31/2020. The end date is 8/27/2021, and the renew date is 8/27/2021. The initial term length is here, the termination period, and the status for these contracts. There's some options. It's active, signed, terminated, and archived. So signed is an in-between phase. It'll actually be marked as signed briefly when that signed comes through and then change to active immediately. And when we terminate this agreement, it'll be marked terminated. And then after the termination period runs, because remember, at this point, once it's signed and it's active, even if they gave us notice now, this is an effective contract until 8/27/2021. And on that date, it will move from terminated to archived. But let's go back to the opportunity. Now, a new field that's available here is the terminated field. So if they've given us notice of termination at any point in that first year, I can actually come in here and mark this as terminated and save it. It'll actually send out an email. In fact, Cindy and Adara from the POP team probably just got an email, and I just got one myself, saying that that had been terminated. And if I come down here, you'll notice that the status has changed on here to terminated as well. This means that it won't automatically renew. Now, if we had let this go until that date, on this date, 8/27/2021, well, actually 60 days beforehand, it would have been locked in for yet another year. And on that date, this would renew so that the start date would become 8/27/2021 and the end date would be 8/27/2022. And all of those requirements would then kind of be updated as well. Like it must be terminated 60 days before. We can't have it be terminated in advance. They have to give notice, etc. So all of those things are running in the background, even though you may not see them. But now that it's been marked terminated, it'll be basically not renewed. And an email just went out, and then 14 days before this termination date of 8/27/2021, yet another email will go out as a reminder to say, don't forget, we need to offboard this client when the time comes. Everything else, though, remains the same, and it can still operate during that year time period as a reminder of who this client is. But most importantly, the ad sales team is going to get a notification that says, hey, don't sell any ads on this client's channel after this date, because after this date, they're no longer going to be a client. We're going to offboard them. So one other thing that is involved is we used to do terminations on the account level. Now we do them on the individual agreement level. And that gives us the ability to say they're going to terminate their channel, but not their YouTube, or they're going to terminate distro, but not everything else. But if a client does say they're going to terminate all their agreements, you can actually come in and mark it terminated here on the account. Now, again, we're on the account for Erica Monet. You'll see that there is a current contract. You know what? Let me just quickly come in here. I'm going to mark this as signed as well. As soon as I find that signed field. Here we are. So I'll mark that as signed. And then closed. We're going to mark it as closed 1. All right, and a contract was created here. But let's go back out to the artist. Now, this artist has now decided they're going to terminate all of their agreements with us. So on the account level again, I'm going to come back and mark it terminated here. Now, keep in mind, we have 1 terminated and 1 active agreement, but if I hit terminated here, this will actually mark this one terminated as well. So without actually going into that agreement, it would mark terminated. If this was still active, it would have marked both of these terminated. So essentially, to terminate a client on any particular agreement, do it at the agreement level. If you need to do all of them, you can do it up at the account level. So there's a couple of other things to keep in mind with clients like these. And I just want to run through a few quick things. Updating payment information can always be a pain. So we have several ways that we can do that. First is to create a new opportunity. And you'll see one of the ones in the list is going to be PayPal info request right here. So I can create a whole new opportunity for a PayPal info request and then run it through that way. I'll show you that actually, that there are not a lot of required fields. And I'm going to close it on the same day. And we're going to go into contract drafting, PayPal, and I'm going to leave these fields blank. When I go into that opportunity, you'll notice that everything that needs to be filled out has been filled out. And I can actually just send this now. Send PayPal request. You'll see it'll load up Congo. And actually that will send automatically. So you saw that I jumped out there just at the last moment, so it didn't actually send the email. But by hitting that send PayPal request button, it actually will send automatically straight through from this PayPal request opportunity. And when the person, that agreement also has the same write back tags, the way that our other agreement did. You'll see here's some write back tags listed in here, as well as a signature tag and a date. So when those write back tags come in, they're actually going to fill in these fields here. What is the PayPal name, the email, the country? Is it domestic or international? And once these fields are updated, in fact, I think if I just do it manually, it'll work. So let's say that we're going to update these, and it's going to be Erica. The PayPal country is the US, and it's domestic. If I hit save, then we're going to go back out to the artist, or the account, I'm sorry. And if we look in that section, you'll notice that the PayPal information has been updated here. This also is going to send a notification to the accounting team to let them know, hey, there is new PayPal information you need to check out. So they'll be able to come in and grab the PayPal email here and update that file in Label Engine. This is another thing that will be much easier once Label Engine is connected by API, because we can do that automatically without having a human be involved. You'll also notice a couple of new things here on the account. Now, we've terminated this account, so it's not going to be something that we have to worry about. But over on Milestone Projects, which is our PM software here, you see two different tasks have now been started. Erica Monet CPA and Erica Monet CMA. Now, that's because we closed both of these agreements. And if you click on either of those, it'll actually take you to that agreement. Project created, signing new EDM CPA. Up, that should have been pop. I have to take care of that. But essentially, this will then create a list of tasks that need to be performed in order for the onboarding to take place for the CPA. And each of these tasks, in turn, has a set of subtasks. Basically, you can change the ownership of any of these steps in between. So heading back out to the account, we have the opportunities here. We have the contracts. We've discussed all of those. The notes section is good for just jotting down anything that you may have about the client. If team members have contact with a client, it's always good to add in a note saying, hey, this is what we discussed, or there was an issue with this or that. Files, you can upload different files. If the person is going to do banking rather than PayPal, like an ACH, you can upload the ACH forms there. We have our contacts. We can always add new contacts if we find someone, change the account team, milestone projects. I'm not going to get into the release calendar submission, and just like I wasn't going to get into the schedules, but I think that that's about as far as we can go today. We've talked about sending contracts, about creating the actual create music contracts, and about terminating the agreements. And we even got a little bit of an intro there to the tasking and how the task can be sent out. So I think that'll be enough for now. We'll get into other stuff in a future video, schedules, the release calendar submissions, and some stuff that we're working on like tracks. And maybe a little more about the projects as well, and how to assign those projects. So I hope you found this video informative. If you have any particular questions, you can of course reach out. You can find me on Slack, robert@createmusicgroup.com, or in any way that you would reach out. And if you have any particular questions that you think, or problems that you think would be addressed really well by a video, please let me know, and I'll be happy to make those as well so that everyone can kind of learn from the problems that any one person is having. Thanks.